everybody, welcome back to another check-in. I hope you've all had an amazing weekend or week so far. I have lots of things to go through with you today. I'm going to run over all of my weight data, my nutrition data. We'll have a look at my training and some of my subjective scores and how I navigated a pretty interesting and challenging week with moving and late nights and a potential holiday lingering in the sidelines. But I also have some tips that I wanted to share with you after having listened to a really insightful podcast, actually just this morning. And I thought, man, if I'm sitting here taking these really great moments away, then I have to share them with you because these aren't super difficult. But I think it really just kind of brings home the importance of looking at, what is driving our day-to-day behaviors, what's motivating us, and where are we getting our happy? Because these things are really important and ultimately can shape our stress levels and allow us to live a fulfilling, purpose-driven life. So please stick around to the end. I've got some fun things to share with you. But I want to dive in and have a look at my data for this week. So naughty me, I've only got a couple of check-in weight points this week. You can see here, I hopped on the scale earlier in the week on Tuesday and I was 138.4. By Saturday, I was down at 138, so a little bit of movement. Overall, my weekly average has come down by 0.7 of a pound. I am basically on track if we come over and have a look at my master data sheet here and looking at the predictive weight column. You can see each week I am shooting for around a pound, just over. And again, I'm targeting 0.8% of my body weight per week. I know in the YouTube comments last week, I think it read 8%. I'm like, oh my God, that's definitely not what I'm losing. So if anybody did catch those little typos, I apologize. It was meant to say 0.8. But with that being said, my goal for this past week was to get to about 138.5 pounds. I am not sure what is going on in the background over there, but nothing's broken, so we'll continue. All right, so I was meant to get down to 138.5 this past week, and my weekly average came in at 138.2, which is fantastic. So things are moving along well. I have noticed that my body weight has started to plateau just a little bit. So this week, hopefully with a slightly less crazy and hectic week, I'll be able to get in all of my training and have a little bit more time, I guess, with regards to prepping meals and being organized so that I can make, good choices that are going to allow me to get to my goals. So let's dive in and have a look at my nutrition data for the week. So you can see here, the first column that I'm looking at is my compliance to overall calories. So it is a little bit high. So I'm 10% over my targets. So my average calories came in at 1458 and my goal for last week, if we scroll down here, was 1329. So a touch higher than I would have liked to. However, I also want to point out, and again, this is where I think it's so important to kind of reflect on your day and decide whether or not your emotional response to your calories are a worthy one or not, because I know that I was spending a lot more time up quite late in the evenings, getting through some work and kind of unpacking. So this past week, my sleep has definitely been less than what I would have liked to. So I have been awake for more hours than what I normally would. And when I have found myself getting the most hungry is really late in the evenings. So although this is not an ideal scenario to be in, of course, we can't control all of our variables. And whilst I am very mindful of trying to have a consistent, steady bedtime, sleep-wake cycle, it's just not always possible. But we can be very intentional about kind of creating an environment and doing behaviors and getting into some habits that will allow us to do that. This week was atypical for me. Obviously, I moved house, as you guys know, and then this week was just trying to set some things up. So less sleep this week meant I was awake more hours, and thus it would be normal for me to get a little bit more hungry because my body is up and active and doing things when I might otherwise be in bed sleeping. So I'm not going to beat myself up too much. Where I can always make room for improvement though is my protein. So this week my protein compliance was about 10% lower than what it was last week, which I wouldn't have thought it could get any lower, but it did. But I'm not surprised. After moving in last week, I still had all of my normal, work commitments and obligations, and it just meant that I didn't have any time to do meal prep. So I was trying to make the best decisions of the things that I had available. I was eating a little bit more takeout, if you will. I'm still making as good of a choice as I possibly could. I'm looking at some of like the healthier options, salad bowls, fresh sandwiches, like at least trying to get some fiber and some nutrition in, but the protein content wasn't quite as high. And I also had a delivery of shakes that I had ordered just to get me by, go missing for like 4 days. So I finally found them. They had been placed at like a neighboring property or something. So finally got those back, and then you can see my protein intake went back up a little bit as I got a hold of those. But they are also a huge help. So if you are somebody that is kind of time poor and haven't had all the time in the day to do your meal prep or your recipe creation or exploration, get something that is a bit of a safety net or your insurance policy. And I will have those multiple times throughout the week, especially in those really busy weeks where, I am also time poor. So this week, my nutrition wasn't perfect, but I also didn't expect it to be. And in last week, if you were listening and following along with my video update, I may have mentioned to you that I was going to be traveling to Vail. So I had a holiday planned that I had booked months ago prior to knowing that I'd be moving. And I was so stressed. Like, I was trying to be excited and, look forwards to this awesome opportunity to catch up with some friends. And it was doing something that I would have loved as well, like getting outdoors. That's definitely up my alley. I used to love mountain bike riding. In fact, I have a massive injury I had an injury when I was quite young going over the handlebars of a mountain bike and landing myself in a tree. So I have lots of scar tissue on one of my thighs, and you see it in all of my bodybuilding competition pictures actually. But anyhow, I digress. But I love being outdoors and just doing those types of active things. So part of my heart was like so excited to be able to go and spend time with friends whom I don't get to see very often. They live interstate. And then also fearing like the lingering like piling boxes that still needed to be unpacked, and knowing that, I'm trying to get myself back into some good habits and routine and momentum for the upcoming competition. But all those things together just weren't going to work. So around, I'm going to say like 1 o'clock on Thursday morning, I guess, if you will, I had to make the horrible decision to cancel my trip. So canceling all the flights, sending the text message just to inform our friends that, hey, we're not going to be there in the morning when you get up, and then speak to them about it. And oh my God, I just felt so bad. But at the same time, I also knew I was so just broken by Thursday. And you can actually see when we go and take a look at some of my weight data and my subjective data on the other page, I think I slept for 12 hours finally on Saturday when I knew that I didn't have anything pressing that needed me up and out of bed first thing in the morning, because normally I'm pretty attentive to my alarm clock and getting things up and going. I let myself rest and I slept for 12 hours. I have not done that in a very long time. So I knew if I ended up going on that trip, I would have come down with something, and I just don't have the ability to be sick right now. I have to, keep my health in as best position as possible. So wasn't a great week. My fiber wasn't perfect either, but I had a couple of days where I made more intentional choices about getting my numbers up. So moving beyond that, and also just goes to show you, even though I was over my calories, the fact that my weight average is still a little bit lower than last week does indicate to me that, my maintenance calories are still much higher. Thankfully, I'm still in a deficit on these targets, but it's not going to be, to the same extent or to the degree of deficit that I was intending on creating. So this week I will have to do better in order to not kind of get behind that trajectory that I have outlined on my summary sheet. Speaking of the summary sheet, if you guys would like a copy of this progress tracker, please head on over to my website. You can actually get yourself a free copy. Let me pull it up. You can get yourself a free copy right here on the Be a Body website. All you need to do is go to the resources page, and then you can also find other helpful tools and readings, education to help you with your own goals. So as a little thank you for supporting me, I wanted to give back to you guys, and you can grab yourself a copy of this progress tracker right here. So please head on over and get yourself one of those for your own tracking. But back to my data. So I wanted to now have a look at my training for this past week. So I was able to get in 4 sessions, I believe it was. Let me go over and just make sure I'm looking at the right stuff. Yes. Okay, cool. So 3 training sessions. What have we got here? Full body, glutes and shoulders, glutes and shoulders, glutes and shoulders. Yes, okay. Looking at the right week. Good. Collectively, my training energy expenditure came in just under 2,000. So it's a little bit lower than what I am hoping for or shooting for. Typically, my sessions bring me in around 2,000 calories. So that's obviously still going to be the goal. This past week, a couple of my sessions were a lot shorter than I would like to, but again, I was so tired. So this day here, Wednesday, you can see I did a 60-minute workout. I only clocked in 322 calories for that training session. So much lower than I would like, but I got something done, and sometimes that's the best that we can do. And then coming over to have a look at my cardio, I did 2 stair stepper sessions. So that's not something I normally do, but I do have access to that where I am at the moment. So those 2 sessions clocked in at about 730 calories in total. I do have to do a little bit more duration for the stair stepper than I do when I'm on my spin bike. It's not quite as difficult. Now, I could probably turn up the intensity a little bit when I'm on that machine and, increase my levels. So right now, when I do the stair stepper, I'll set my kind of 1 minute on pace as like level 12, maybe level 13, and then I have a minute rest. So I'm just going on, off for, 1 minute, 1 minute. And my walking recovery pace is the 8, I think it's 8, level 8, I think. So I kind of alternate back and forth between those. And to keep my mind busy, I'll mix up every 5 to 10 minutes what type of stepping that I'm doing. So for the first 5 minutes, I might do just normal single steps. So, I'll interchangeably go from level 8 to level 12, fast, slow, taking single steps. And then for, the second 10-minute block, I might do taking 2 steps at a time. So when I do the fast, higher intensity level, I'll take 2 steps and then I'll go back to the single steps for my recovery. And I'll just kind of alternate again to keep my mind busy and distracted. And that's also another time where I might throw in, some kind of audible or something informative to kind of listen to keep my mind busy. So that's what I did this week for cardio. As we come over to have a look at my overall, energy expenditure for the week, I came in at about 4,200, so very close to my target. And again, if we pop over to have a look at what my targets were for last week, I'm pointing to the cells here on the screen. So 4,500 has been what I have been shooting for. So I think, honestly, given the busyness of the week, I'm really proud of myself. It's not a perfect week, and I don't know that I ever will have a perfect week, but you can set your intentions, and then you can implement and plan and do your very best, and then let the rest go. You can't continuously beat yourself up, criticize, and leave yourself feeling really defeated and deflated. That doesn't serve anybody. So letting it go, and hopefully this week will be a slightly improved week. My step average came in at just over 12,000, which is good. I'm actually not sure what happened on Wednesday or Thursday here. I think it was Thursday, the day that I'm highlighting on the screen. I'm pretty sure because I was in a new environment, I forgot my watch. It wasn't where I would obviously normally put it. It was out of sight. And for me, as somebody that has ADD, I need things like in my pathway of vision. If it is not very clear, I will not see it. So I've even noticed, and I don't know whether you guys, maybe some of you have ADD or you don't. Maybe it is just a human flaw. I don't know. But if I'm getting ready in the morning and I've got like all of my like makeup and things out on the counter, I find that I can see things so clearly when I like put all my brushes together. I'll put all of the like powders or like foundations together, and then I'll have shadows, all of that, contouring palettes, but I have to have them like fully spaced out. Whereas if I'm working out of a makeup bin and I've got like all my things, like when I travel, you guys obviously know what I'm talking about, your makeup case, your carrier container. If I've got it all in the one bag, something could be right there. And I will look, I'm like, I know what this damn thing looks like. It's the mascara, it's the waterproof one, it's slightly blue, and I'm just like sifting through all the things. and I can't freaking see it. And then like, I don't know, I'll get frustrated and I'll find an alternative. Like I pick another brand or a product and I'll move on. And then like moments later, I'll be like, oh, there it is. Gosh, dang it. So I have to have things in my pathway in order for me to like see and do. Just the same way that if I didn't have a schedule or a calendar, I would forget so many things. My brain just doesn't operate that way. So I have to be really, really diligent if I want to get all the things done that I say I'm going to do. Otherwise, poof, it's just gone. Maybe you guys can relate. So as far as what I'm going to do this week for my targets, let's jump over and have a look. I've got this week highlighted here in green. So no adjustments necessary to my calories. I know if I hit these dang numbers, I will achieve my weekly rate of weight loss of about 1 pound. Again, if you missed how I do those calculations, please go back into some of the former videos. I show you exactly the math that I use to make my adjustments. If I need to move my weight by this much or this much, here's how I go about doing it. Or if that sounds all too confusing and just difficult and you don't want to do that mental math or the gymnastics that's often required, please reach out to me or my coaching team. We are obviously taking on clients. I have a new set of programs that I'm offering. These are light coaching packages. They seem to work really well for people's budgets right now in an economic crisis. I know that so many people are really starting to, push aside the non-urgent and essential. To me, I look at my health as urgent and essential, and it's something that I'll always try to prioritize, but we also need to be able to come up with cash to pay for these things. So I have a new light package for you guys that I thought would be really, really helpful. So if you're interested in learning more about that, please reach out. You can head over to my website, beyourbody.com. So no need to change my macros this week. And then for training, obviously keeping that much the same. Here you'll notice that I'm still putting in that 2,000 calorie target roughly for my 4 or 5 training sessions. Again, the frequency at the moment is less important. For me, I would much prefer to do my training over 5 days if I have the capacity to do that. It just means that I don't have to pack so much into one session. I find when I try and do really big sessions like 90 minutes to an hour, to 2-hour long sessions, number one, I don't have that kind of time in the weekdays, and I'm sure you guys don't either, but it's more likely going to happen on the weekends because I can take a bit more time. But I do start to feel fatigued, and, I don't like lingering around in the gym. There are other things that I enjoy doing that aren't spending and slaving my afternoons or mornings in a gym environment. So I much prefer kind of getting in maybe 75 minutes if I can, and then getting out. But again, with my schedule, I've had to compromise, be a little bit flexible, and sometimes I do still have to do or get it all done in 4 sessions. So that's a bit less important. Ultimately, as long as I reach my weekly set numbers for the muscle groups that I'm currently focusing on, then that is all that matters. And trying to divide those as evenly as possible throughout the course of the week so that I'm not overdoing it on one day and then, putting myself in a compromised position, for a follow-up training session. For cardio this week, I have no idea what I'm going to get in, but I'd like to do 2 or 3 sessions. I have loosely tracked out what I think will work this week. I've already done a stair stepper session this morning, which was deathly. I did not enjoy it, but I got through it by listening to a fantastic podcast. So again, I try to work on the stacking effect for creating new habits. Do something that you already do that's enjoyable. For me, I love learning. I am a lifelong learner. I think if I could do no work and actually just go and be in school, I would totally do that. But sadly, that's not how the world operates. But anyway, I really love that stuff. So, I'll pair that, which I'm going to do regardless, with something that's less of a habit, or that I'm trying to form, a habit. It was just like when I was trying to get back into the habit of using my watch. I didn't use that for about a year and a half because I wasn't, competing. So to reestablish that habit, I had to do something or get this to pair up with something that I did often. I always get up in the morning and I go and feed my cats. And in order for me to do that, I had to basically put my watch in the middle of the floor. So I had to step over it to go and get my cats ready and fed for the morning. So that was kind of my way of getting myself back into the habit of using my watch. So anyhow, habit forming, very important if you can stack them with something that you already do consistently every day. So two stair steppers, I'd love to get a run in on the weekend. I found that so therapeutic. I know last week somebody had asked about balancing running with hypertrophy goals. I hope that that explained that with a certain level of detail. And I know I've got some content coming up on YouTube here in the next week or two that talks about concurrent training and what the current body of literature recommends. So even more detail than what I had provided in my YouTube response last week. So stick around for that. And then I'll also plan to get some walking in. So, every day I try to do about 60 minutes. It doesn't always happen in one smooth chunk. Today, for instance, I only got 15 minutes of walking in and then I needed to get back to my office. So I will try and do a couple of, little time chunks or some little, what are they called? Activity, exercise snacks, just to get that total 1 hour of walking in across the course of the day. And we also know that that is really helpful in reducing stress. It allows you to concentrate more. It helps improve your memory, and also helps you to avoid decision fatigue. So just taking, a quick 5-minute break instead of just going on your phone and scrolling on Facebook or Instagram, whichever your poison is. Go for a walk, get some movement in between meetings. It will really help you feel less stressed and improve your emotional well-being if you can do that. So that's my plan for my cardio and my training for this week. I'm still shooting for that same 4,500 calorie goal. I really hope I can do it, but life happens and we will see how I go. But to kind of close out, I actually wanted to share some of the insights that I heard this morning on a podcast that I was listening to. It was really about kind of identifying, some simple strategies or behaviors that we can implement today that don't require, cost. It's not going to, set you back thousands of dollars. It's just little simple things that we can do to help improve our emotional state of well-being. So there are 4 points that I want to outline here, and then I also want to talk about the 2 types of happiness. And believe it or not, there are 2 that kind of help us feel fulfilled or have a sense of fulfillment that will help reduce stress and feeling burnt out, which I'm going to put my hand up. I listen to these because I know I am pushing my human limits. I'm sure some of you guys are probably feeling the same with your own circumstances. So I listen to this and I'm like, oh my God, if I'm taking some really important moments away from this. Now, these aren't complicated things, but it's nice to have those little reminders. So I hope that these strategies will help you too. So the first was embracing a sense of wonder, curiosity, and play. So achieving that like childlike wonder, that state where you're living in the moment, nothing else matters. So finding things in your life that bring you a lot of joy, and not just waiting until the weekends to do this, trying to bring those little moments in every day can greatly improve your sense of well-being. It can reduce your stress. It can help your productivity. It improves your brain cognition and function. There are so many benefits to doing that. And I thought about this as I heard this, I guess, one of the featured experts talking about it. And I tend to be somebody that ends up waiting until the weekend because my weeks are really busy. But I also know how that can leave me feeling during the week if I don't make time for a little bit of that childlike wonder, that joy, that pleasure. So if you aren't currently trying to find moments, and that might be all you have, moments. I remember talking to my therapist about this, and when I told her what was going on in my life, and she was just like, oh my God, Holly, I understand how you were so stressed. But, okay, you can't do most of the suggestions and strategies that she would give to somebody else. These were not possible or options for me. So she said, how about just taking a couple of moments, just, 10 seconds to pop down what you're doing, glance out the window and appreciate that, you have a house and a roof over your head, that you have a caring and wonderful, loving partner. You have, a business and you've created a culture that means so much to you. So it might be, I don't know what this is for you. It could be many things, but just taking a moment out of your day to, have gratitude. And it has made such a big difference to my overall mental health and well-being. But I had to be intentional. Those weren't things that just naturally came up to me. Like I really just focus, hard work, no time for pleasure. It's about getting things done. And that was how I was raised. So I understand where that logic and mentality came from. It was very disciplined, you do the work. And the person on this podcast described it, on their first day of medical school, they were all sat down and told, diamonds are made during, challenging times. But diamonds can break. So we need to make sure that we, have some time for that joy. I think the second thing that's really important, and I talk a lot about this with my one-on-one coaching clients, and I try to do this myself, it is engage in activities that bring you meaning and purpose and leave you with a sense of accomplishment. I think a lot of people tend to get caught up on materialism and extrinsic things, items, things that bring you happiness. It might be the fancy cars, the luxury items, those types of things. And we tend to forget about the importance of doing something that feels like it gives you purpose. I know I have a couple of stay-at-home housewives that are now empty nesters. Their kids have grown up and they are now out doing their own thing. And because they've spent so many years of their life working, and being available for their children, and now that responsibility has softened, or it may not even exist anymore, they feel really lost, like they haven't got this identity anymore. So we spend a lot of time kind of working on what is your why? What brings you purpose? What leaves you feeling fulfilled? And I think, again, a lot of us are chasing those materialistic things, but that's a temporary happiness. It doesn't necessarily allow you to feel truly complete and that you're content and have meaning in your life. So if you are struggling at the moment, I would think about that. And it doesn't have to be your career. It could be just a hobby that you freaking love doing. Then do more of that and bring that and give that more time. The next thing is spending time or being a part of the community. That could mean spending lots of time with your family. It could be relationship, but spend time checking in with people, whether it's sending them a text message or hopping on a quick phone call and just saying, hey, I just wanted to hear your voice. That is such an important part of leaving us feeling fulfilled and happy. And again, helping to reduce that stress and that burnout feeling. Just checking in with somebody maybe every morning as part of your morning routine, getting a little message back, even if it's a funny meme. I know I have a couple of girlfriends. We don't get a whole lot of time to chat, but a quick text in the morning with a funny meme that we've seen or something that is meaningful to us, that goes a long way. And we also know that feelings of loneliness are just as severe or have just as severe health consequences as smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. So that feeling of connectedness is also really important. And as I sit here and tell you this today, that is one of the areas in my life that I have absolutely neglected. Now, it's not by choice. I've been in unusual circumstances the last feels like 7 years. But anyhow, I know it's so important for me to kind of get back and involved with the community. And I think that's one of the things that I've really enjoyed about finding myself in a church and getting back being part of a community, joining small groups, finding people that have like-minded values and that share similar or common interests. Really, really important. And it can't just be with one other person. So, even me and my partner, we are proactively trying to be more part of a community because we have isolated ourselves because we work so hard and we've been going through a lot of, stressful circumstances. Really making sure that you are intentional with those types of behaviors can really bring you a greater sense of happiness. And then also, contrary to that, spending some time alone, believe it or not. We know that spending solo time is a time where we can foster creativity. It allows us to kind of tap into areas of our brain that we might not otherwise when we've got lots of other external influences, whether it's people, the environment, you name it. So I know for me, as much as I love, connecting and feeling like I'm part of something bigger, if I don't get my alone time each week, I am not a happy person. I feel emotionally drained. I need to go back and charge up the battery. I love spending time on my own. And that's where I get a lot of stuff done. So if you aren't making time, quiet time for you, and again, that could look like many things, please make sure that that is something that you are being intentional about on a day-to-day basis. Now, lastly, I wanted to talk to you about the two types of happiness, because I think for a long time, I completely overlooked one of these. I kind of was aware of some of the behaviors that I was doing, and I had some really good habits, but I didn't really see just how important they were in, again, helping to feel like I have a sense of purpose and, meaning, and that would bring me contentment. So the first kind of happiness is a hedonic happiness. These are the things, like I described before, they're usually things. They are, I guess, activities, things that bring us joy. They're not they won't bring lasting happiness. I think, people will often look at, like a fat loss goal, for instance, as something that is going to bring them true inner happiness and fulfillment and purpose. Like, when I get to this number on the scale, I'm suddenly going to be happy. And that is simply not the case. I can attest to that as somebody that gets lean all the time. I don't feel any happier over here. In fact, sometimes it worsens my quality of life. But I also like to have lots of goals, and it does bring me happiness. Like, the process of dieting brings me a sense of fulfillment. But it's also, I know I don't want to be there all the time. That's for sure. So again, chasing these kind of materialistic things can bring temporary but not lasting happiness. But they are an important part of creating a healthy state of mental health and well-being. So it's okay to have these things, and I encourage people to do these things a lot. Again, that might be, catching up with friends, going out for dinners, getting a massage, I don't know, insert whatever brings you this sense of temporary happiness. I know some of my friends are like chronic shoppers. They just browse and browse and browse and browse, and they probably have 1,000 Amazon packages at their doorstep. I know one in particular loves shopping. I'm pretty sure it's even in her email. So, that is certainly something that we can do to allow us to feel happy, but it isn't the type of happiness that brings us that greater sense of contentment. And this type of happiness is called your Eudaimonic. I'm going to say it one more time. Eudaimonic happiness. Sorry, it's totally hard to say. But that is the type of happiness that literally creates cellular changes in our body. It has the capacity to literally change your life. So again, this can come from so many different things, but I think a lot of people really don't know what that is. They've been chasing the other type, the hedonic happiness, for such a long time that they've really forgotten about the things that actually fill them up, like bring the cup back up and leave you like internally happy. So if you do not know what truly leaves you feeling fulfilled, then it's time to start searching for that. And there are so many great resources online that will allow you to find your sense of purpose and to start living your best life. It's something that I work with all the time with my clients. And despite, I work with clients for their nutrition and obviously to optimize their health. And we obviously include training as part of that. But there's so many other like psychology pieces that allow people to not only commit to behavior change that's going to allow them to live a healthy lifestyle, but it's also important to find balance. It can't just be the one thing that we focus on, because again, it's not something that's going to allow you to truly feel fulfilled and happy. So we make sure that we're looking at all of the domains of health and all the domains of life, and we try to have goals in each of those areas to ensure that there is truly a sense of balance and that we're not focusing on, one thing too much, which can again pull people in the wrong direction. So hedonic happiness and eudaimonic happiness, I think I got it right the second time. Those are the two types, and they are both critical to our overall sense of well-being, to help us feel less stressed and to feel less burnt out. So I guess that's what I wanted to leave you with today, as I found that really helpful. And it's just nice to get those reminders every now and then. But before I close out, I just wanted to remind you all of a couple of our products and services that I think you guys are really going to enjoy. I've obviously talked about all of our free resources, so please head on over to the Be a Body website and grab yourself all of those downloads. That is our little thank you and to give back to you. And also please subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you are not subscribed, maybe you're just getting notifications or you see my page pop up on your YouTube when you return to the app. Please subscribe. That really helps out my channel. It allows me to keep doing these videos, and my intention is to actually move over to a podcasting platform. I know I've had a podcast in the past. Finding time is critical at the moment, but I definitely want to start doing that and having in other expert speakers on different topics and subjects that you are interested in. So please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you aren't already. Of course, it's absolutely free. And then over to some of the other products that we have. If you aren't familiar with Be a Brain, this is our monthly subscription service. We tackle 4 different subjects in the area of health in general. We look at 2 nutrition topics and 2 exercise or training topics, and we break those complex subjects or research papers down into really easy to understand terms. So whether you are a coach, someone working in the health and fitness space, or you're just a subscriber following along on my journey and you enjoy learning about, how to improve your health, then this is a product for you. We make it super simple to understand, and we also have an easy and convenient Audible that allows you to listen to it anywhere, anytime. So it starts at $14.99 per month, and we have different subscriptions available. Obviously, I've talked about our coaching before, and last but not least, I think it's important to talk about the Be a Fit training app. So that is our new training platform. We have over 50 or 60 different types of training programs. Cardio, mobility and stretching. We have strength programs, hypertrophy programs, and a hybrid of those. So we really help people with all kinds of health and fitness goals. We have programs for beginners and advanced. We have different environments such as training at home or training in the gym. And then there is so much flexibility within the app. You can replace your exercises with a similar muscle group or an exercise with the same primary muscle groups. There are hundreds of options. And you can also move things around wherever you like, add sets, add exercises. It is a super flexible training app. So that is available on Android and iOS. You can go and grab that and download it today, I believe for $12.99 per month. Sorry, that is Be a Fit. And I think that's about all, guys. So I hope you're all having an amazing week so far. If you've got questions, please leave me a question. I will be doing the Q&As at the end of these this week because I'd only had this up for 24 hours. There are no questions, lots of just comments in general. So I don't have any questions from you guys this week, but anything that does come through today, I will respond to those in next week's check-in. So until then, have a good week and I'll see you then. Bye.